So the other day, I put on a community notes tab. I asked you to give me some of your hot takes and I would react to them. So this is me making good on that promise. Let's talk about some of your hot takes. Do I agree? Do I disagree? I will go through. I think there's some that are very good, some I disagree with, and that should make for an interesting video. So let's just get into it. First, we have a decent amount of quarterback takes, which is expected. Jackson Dart will be a top 10 pick because teams are desperate. So this is saying Jackson Dart will be picked very highly, not necessarily because I'm assuming this commenter doesn't necessarily think that Jackson Dart's worth the 10th overall pick, but maybe just is, hey, you need a quarterback. Yeah, quarterback is so valuable, teams are going to reach on one, what many people felt about the Broncos of Bo Nix, even though that ended up working out. And I mean, listen, I don't think it's out of the question by any means. I think this is a good hot take because I do think that Cam Ward's going first overall. I do think most teams view Shedeur Sanders as number 2, although I think there are teams that prefer Dart. But ultimately, if Sanders does go number 2 to the Browns, or another team decides to select him, you do have the Saints at 9 there who could take him, or maybe you have a team trade up. Maybe teams know that the Saints are considering a quarterback. They're currently the betting favorite to get Shedeur Sanders, and maybe someone trades with the Panthers, who could use a lot of help somewhere else. Maybe the Steelers trade up, they get Shedeur Sanders, then the Saints get Dart or something like that, or maybe the Saints just draft Dart at number 9. I think it's totally possible. Again, we always think that this is going to happen. It doesn't always happen where teams are quarterback crazy. Last year it did, but there was the Malik Willis draft where it very much did not go that way. So, we'll see, but it's definitely a possibility. The only starting quarterback to not be a bust will be Jackson Dart. Again, I mean, these are the kind of things where it's possible. It legitimately is possible. I think that people go into the draft almost feeling like because they spend so much effort trying to figure out who the best quarterback is, they've figured it out. But the reality is we just don't know which quarterback is going to be great. The best quarterback prospects still have about a 1 in 3 chance of hitting. So, I think Jackson Dart's a good prospect. I think he could be the only quarterback to not be a bust. I also think that he could be a bust and the other two could succeed. It's possible for sure. So another interesting hot take. I wouldn't feel strong to say this is what's going to happen, but definitely something that has a possibility of happening. IDK if this is a hot take anymore, but Sanders will be drafted top 3. We see this every season where teams say they're not taking the quarterback, but some GM always convinces themselves, whether it's the Browns or Giants, or someone trades up for him. I would push back a little bit, just again, the Malik Willis draft, I have to put in my head, people thought that Malik Willis might go number 2 overall. He went in round 3. So it doesn't always work out that way. But you are correct that this is a thing that often works out this way of we feel like, this everyone's cooling on this quarterback prospect, and then they still go. There was that CJ Stroud thing for a while. Remember where CJ Stroud, a lot of people were saying, I don't know if the Texans actually like him that much. They're a lot cooler on him, and they still just draft him 2nd overall. That could totally happen. I do wonder. I think it's more likely he gets drafted to Cleveland than the Giants, just because the Giants have 3 quarterbacks on their roster already. Granted, none of those are contracts that you have to make sure that you can still draft a rookie quarterback with those contracts on board, and maybe there's just some, maybe that's a screen where you're doing that to make teams, not jump in front of you to get the quarterback. But ultimately, it's possible. I think I would actually lean that it's not going to happen. I think it counts as a hot take. I think people are saying it's not going to happen, and I think I agree. I think that there's other great prospects on the board, and I just don't think people view Sanders as that. But I do think that he's probably going to get drafted earlier than later. And then one more quarterback-related hot take, although this is not necessarily strictly about the draft quarterbacks. The 49ers should draft a quarterback instead of extending Purdy. It's a really interesting thing, because every time you float out this idea, the fan base is going to get upset, because 49ers fans are going to say, hey, we like Brock Purdy. He went to a Super Bowl with us. Why are we moving off of him? Well, he went to a Super Bowl with you, but you also were on a rookie deal. And after this upcoming season, that rookie deal will no longer, be in place. And we've seen how they've had to have a lot of cap casualties because of the past couple years really going all in. And now they're in kind of their last year of a Brock Purdy deal. If you are going to give him a long extension, it's just going to make it that much tougher, right? If he's now getting more than Patrick Mahomes, how do you compete with the Chiefs when the quarterback play is just not quite on that level? It is difficult. And yeah, I mean, if you really like Jackson Dart and like Shedeur Sanders, there is some logic there. The issue is they really like Trey Lance, and look at how that didn't work out. But maybe you draft a quarterback now. You see him in training camp, you see him in practice, maybe he gets into a game or two, and if you don't feel like he's the guy, then you just pay Brock Purdy. If you do feel like he's the guy, well, then you can try to have 3 years and a player in a fifth-year option of better, younger, or at least cheaper play, because you don't have to be better than Brock Purdy. You just have to be in his somewhat on his level, and then you'll be okay. It's an interesting strategy, and again, it's kind of predicated on a quarterback you like falling to the 49ers at 14. I don't think there's no logic to it, though. Next hot take is Jackson Kruger gets picked up in the first round by the New York Giants. Wow, going third overall, too. I hope so. That'd be fun. I think that they could use a YouTuber. I think that would help. The teams they don't put enough resources into making sure to have good YouTubers on their team. So, yeah, I think that would be a good draft pick. I think that would make sense. Also, I don't have any takes. I kind of just wait for you to give your opinion, and then I just trust you. You shouldn't just trust whatever I say. I'm just the guy here, too. I'm on the other side of the YouTube here. Don't believe everything I say. I'm just doing my best here. Okay, back to normal football hot takes about the draft. There's maybe like 8 guys who are actually worth taking in the first round this upcoming draft. I kind of agree and kind of disagree. I think that for me, where this draft really is worse is usually you have 4 to 5 like blue chip prospects, and then you usually have like 10 not quite blue chip, but like really good prospects. To me, this draft is really lacking in both of those two categories. I think that they have, to me, there's 3 blue chip prospects of Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, and Travis Hunter. And then you have, maybe a small handful of those like top 15 quality picks, but that's lower as well. I would say, I think that the back half is maybe even a little deeper than your average first round. So I would still say that there are decent, over 20 guys who are worth taking in the first round in this draft class. It's just there are maybe like 8 guys worth taking with a top 15 pick is how I would phrase it, or maybe even less than that, which is why I think it feels a lot worse. This one's a wild hot take, also a wild thumbnail by Shrexy guy here, who says Gene T will be picked by the Patriots 2nd overall. So I have some questions. I think, how are the Patriots trading up to 2nd overall? Why are they trading up to 2nd overall to select Gene T? But if we say that they're going to select him with the 4th overall pick, I think that's a more interesting take because, again, I kind of brought up the fact that I think there's only 3 real blue chip prospects here. I think they probably will all be gone by the time that the Patriots are picking 4th overall. And do they decide in this situation, you know what, let's just go with the player who we think is going to help right now, help out, Drake May's development, and potentially, I mean, it could be their Derrick Henry, because let's not forget, Vrabel, when he was, winning football games, it was with Derrick Henry. That's an interesting hot take that I haven't really seen. Again, the 2nd overall thing probably isn't going to happen, but if you tone down to take a little bit, there's maybe something there, although I still think they probably don't do that. I brought up a couple of the, guys who I consider blue chip prospects, but some people did have disagreements about those. For example, Abdul Carter has a solid speed slash hezzy slash ghost thrust, but wins with power so rarely at the NFL level. Mid right tackle or left tackle will completely shut him down. Another hot take that, I feel like if you just tone it down a bit, which I'm asking for hot takes, so you're doing your job by not toning it down, but I think if you did tune it down, I would actually kind of agree with, because I do feel like there is some, I think he's getting talked about like he's Myles Garrett or like he's Aiden Hutchinson as a prospect, I'm saying, like Chase Young as a prospect, and I don't know if he's quite on that level. I still think he's a really good prospect and totally worth taking with a top 3 pick. He is number 3 on my board personally. But I do think, I do think he wins with speed a little bit more than you would like from a top 3 pick. I also think that in the running game, that can have some negative implications. I do think there is some stuff there, although I think a mid right tackle or left tackle will completely shut him down. That's probably not true. I think that he will still have speed, and he still has enough of his, he has good hands, and he still has enough power to be able to win. But you are correct, and that is a concern. This one is fun, which is Travis Hunter is a little overrated. I'm asking for hot takes. You can't say little, right? But it also kind of still is a hot take, even though it's a very mild take of just saying he's a little overrated. I mean, I will say this. I think Travis Hunter is great. I wonder how he would get viewed if he was just coming out as a corner or as a wide receiver. I do wonder if, people would obviously view him less. I wonder just how that would be viewed, especially if he was just a wide receiver. Would people still be talking about him as a top 5 pick? I don't know. I think for me, if he was just a corner, I currently have him as number 1 on my board. I'd probably drop him to number 3, although the quarterback thing I'd probably still take Cam Ward first overall, but I'd probably drop him down below Carter if he was just a corner. The fact that he can do both, and you essentially have a fail-safe of if he struggles at one position, you can have him play the other, makes him such a valuable prospect to me, but I do think there is something there. Because then we have this, which is another interesting one. If Travis Hunter gets paired up with Drake May, rookie receiving records will be broken. I mean, I think that I still like Drake May, and I'm interested in seeing what he can do in year 2. I like Travis Hunter. I don't think Travis Hunter is on the level of a Jamar Chase as a prospect, right? Like these guys who, Puka Nakua's rookie year, when how great he was, I think that's a lot to ask, and this is kind of one of those things that just happens in the draft evaluation process, is people very much fall in love with potential. This was the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing last year. I was like, I like this guy a lot. He's my wide receiver number 1, but I remember Marcus Whitman, that franchise guy, he compared him to A.J. Green, and people were like, how could you only compare him to A.J. Green? As if that wouldn't be like an amazing 4th overall pick to get an A.J. Green caliber player. I think something like that kind of happens with Travis Hunter. So, hey, it's a hot take. I'm asking for hot takes. Is there a world where this happens? Sure. But I do think that expectations sometimes can be the downfall of some players or make people think guys are going to do too much. Finally, this is my last one, and sorry for the ones I wasn't able to get to. I do appreciate everyone who entered in a hot take. Unfortunately, I can't get to them all, but a lot of them were good. I just didn't have that much to add to it, so I didn't include it in the video, so apologies there. But we have Fannin will be a better tight end than Tyler Warren and Loveland. This is an interesting hot take. Okay, so if you're unaware, Fannin is, I do have him as tight end 3 on my board. I do like him. I do think that there are some, I don't agree with him being that high on the list. There's things to like about Fannin. He's only 20 years old, comes out of a lower level of competition, so there is some projection there. I will say though, this is again one of those things where taking a shot in the dark. There is a world where this is correct. I think especially with his, with his route running and with his receiving, that's something that you feel like could really work. I do think that there is just some more polishing that he's going to have. Again, he's 20 years old. He's going to get better and grow as a player. It's a hot take that I actually think is kind of fun, and you can easily talk yourself into. So, yeah, I don't know. That's a fun hot take. Well, I want to revisit that in a couple of years and see if it works out. I don't think it's impossible at all, although, again, still is number 3 on my board. I still do prefer Loveland and Warren, but, yeah, I'll say this. I'd rather be drafting Fannin whenever he ends up going, day 2, than drafting Tyler Warren with pick number 8. I think there's maybe some better strategy there, personally. But ultimately, I do think they're all really good prospects. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.